Yes.
Our next topic is Daniel Day-Lewis. The upcoming Paul Thomas Anderson movie that comes out around the holidays this year. Daniel Day-Lewis made a statement through his publicist. This isn't rumor. It was made through his publicist that Daniel Day-Lewis is retiring from acting, and the Paul Thomas Anderson movie will be his last, where he plays a fashion designer in 60s London. First of all, do you believe it? Secondly, do you understand it?
Okay, number one, I believe it. Number two, yes, I understand it. This guy's modus operandi of doing roles is that he stays in the role for almost the entire stretch of the length. So when he stepped out from the camera in Lincoln, he was still Lincoln. When he stepped out from in front of the camera in My Left Foot, he was still in a wheelchair and still acting as if he had that affliction. This is a guy that throws himself into every role. This is a guy that when he played Hamlet on stage, he actually walked off stage in the middle of a performance because he started seeing ghostly apparitions of his own father on stage. So this guy is, let's face it, being an actor must be kind of nutty, and, this guy is kind of suffering from the kind of thing that maybe, who knows, I'm not saying that he's mentally ill or anything like that. I'm just saying that he throws himself into the work so much that he works himself up into a lather, and it's got to be very exhausting. I mean, they made it, Ronald Colman won an Oscar for A Double Life playing an actor who suffers from this sort of thing. So, he's probably tired of it. And, who knows? He has every right to change his mind. He probably said that himself. But, he does spend a lot of time in between movies. So really, if he's stuck with it, he's going to be 70. He'd be 70 before his next movie comes out, probably.
Yeah.
So, I do totally understand it, and even now. We're also talking about a guy who took a couple of years off to make shoes.
Yes.
But now he wants to, probably as a result of this new movie, which is called Phantom Thread, at least right now.
That's not the
title. Huh? Yeah.
That's probably not the title.
Okay.
That's what it's been given.
Oh, I see. Now he wants to go and design dresses.
That was, though, in the British tabloids. I don't know how true that is, though. I don't,
okay.
That was seriously. That was in the British tabloid press. Let's not use that as the be-all end of the truth. We're no better than anyone. It's a British tabloid thing. No,
right.
Let's be very honest. If he goes out, let's say he does this. Let's say he's going to retire. Let me be very clear right now. He's going to get a fourth Best Actor Oscar right now.
Not necessarily.
No, that's a foregone conclusion, babe. You gave him for Daniel Plainview. You gave him for Abraham Lincoln. You're going to give him for this. He's going to go out on top. I don't think I've ever seen anything like this where an actor is going to go out quite on top as this guy.
Maybe that's why he's doing it.
He's going to go out with the director who gave him one of his best performances. Let's not rule that out. God, what do we think?
That's important. I mean, whether he wins an Oscar for it or not, he's going out before his work suffers, which invariably, most great actors, the longer they do it, their work suffers. Because the same stuff you're talking about, disappearing into a role and living the role almost to a point of psychosis, can be said of a lot of the performances that the De Niro's, Pacinos, and Hoffmans gave in the 70s. The more they work, and they do 2-3 movies a year or whatever, the more they work, it's decreasing returns. He doesn't want that to happen to him, I'm sure. And I know, Dean, that you're right, that it's just the such a physically and emotionally exhausting process for him. It's pleasurable in a certain way. It's like an exorcism, but at the same time, Daniel Day-Lewis has other interests. That's why I didn't think the whole rumor about him going into the fashion world was a bad thing. I mean, whether it's true or not, I understand it. I mean, he's always had other passions and interests that he wanted to explore outside of acting. It's not something scandalous.
And by the way, has he ruled out like working on stage or something like that? Because I don't think that he's done that. So I mean, remember he's married to a director, Rebecca Miller. So who knows? You know, she might coax him into something. He's already been in one of her movies.
Yeah, that's true.
But outside of that, I totally take him at his word. And you know what? I think it's good that certain that performers or directors or whatever, are aware of they have mortality and they're aware and they're not super beings and also they don't owe us anything for liking their shit.
Right.
Yeah. I agree.
They don't owe us a whole lifetime.
Yeah, I mean,
right, exactly.
Let's look at musicians. We want musicians to come out and tour and everything. As you get older, touring is an exhausting experience.
Can you imagine?
It takes so. Yeah, I mean, can you imagine you're going all over the world? Like, James Hetfield of Metallica was on Joe Rogan's podcast a couple months ago, and he said, "Look, guys, we're getting older. We have other interests we want to do. We have families we haven't seen in years.
Yeah,
we'd like to spend time with them. We'd like to do things." And I understand that. So I understand it with Daniel Day-Lewis, and you're absolutely right, Dean. Thank you for saying it. He doesn't owe us anything.
Right.
I'm not a damn thing. I mean, and that goes for every artist, every creative, and they don't owe us anything. My God, we demand, when are you going to come out with a new album or a new movie? No. In fact, it's usually the first question that's asked of them after they deliver something new. Yeah. What's next for you? Good God, will you just let me rest? Yeah.
It's like asking Kubrick, like, Full Metal Jacket just came out this week. What's next? It's like, why don't you deal with this movie, Yeah,
really. I mean, I'm actually going to work on the Shelley Duvall story, next. That's my next movie.
It actually feels like, it feels akin to, like, Carson retiring in 92. Yeah. Carson retired. He could have been on that stage until the day he died. But he said, if I go any further, it's not going to be as relevant or as good, and the memories will be tainted.
Yes.
So why not?
Yeah, I think I've said it on the show before, and I will continue to say it. I think retirement needs to be considered by all artists. I know some people disagree and think that artists need to keep on working until they drop, but. There's something to be said for like, look, my work is done here. I have nothing else to prove. Bye.
Yeah.
Well, I'm of the opinion that it's up to the artist. In terms of them not owing us anything, it's not my place to make their life decisions for them. They can do whatever the hell they want. If they want to keep working, let them keep working.
Yeah, I agree with that. Let me just throw something out there though. So I listened to it. I didn't watch it. I listened to it at work. William Friedkin being interviewed by Nicholas Refn, and when Nicholas shuts up, it's actually very interesting. But he doesn't let him. I don't know if you guys have listened to that or watched that yet, where he interviews him about Sorcerer.
No, I haven't.
It's fascinating. I strongly recommend it. But towards the end of it, William Friedkin brings up a lot of good points, as he always does. He did in our interviews and everything. And he says, "Look, you can be you can be the hottest kid in town, but eventually the times change. People don't want you anymore." And of course he brings up Billy Wilder. He said Billy Wilder could not get a meeting in the last 20 years of his life. He wanted to. We all know he wanted to direct, but he couldn't. No studio was going to finance a movie for him or whatever. So
the times have certainly changed on him, definitely.
Yeah, I mean,
and that whole cabal. You know,
he got a raw deal. I mean, but it's very interesting. He brings up, it was very interesting. He brings up this thing because Nicholas Refn in this interview is, well, I'm a younger version of you, and you just really want to. And then with the point where William Freak is like, I think that we need to get a medic here. We need to get an ambulance to pull up here. This kid's nuts. But it was very. I like when someone like that brings up Billy Wilder or something. He goes, you can be the hottest kid in town, but eventually the times change. It doesn't matter how great you are. The times do change, and people change. And that's another thing we have to keep in mind.
And at the same time, I think William Friedkin has changed with the times. When he came back and he did Killer Joe and he did Bug, and he found kind of leaner avenues to stay in the game.
True.
He is one of the great raconteurs. But have you noticed that William Friedkin nowadays, that he loves everything? Like, everything is the fucking best movie of the year. Like, the best horror movie of the year.
Yes,
I don't know if you've noticed that.
I have noticed that. With most things, yes, he does come out and say those things.
Is that like a thing on Twitter or something? Like, because I don't do Twitter. Does he go on Twitter a lot? And
yeah, he does Twitter.
Make those.
Yeah.